And and you mentioned what you saw at the scene of the crime. Can you elaborate on it if you don't mind?
Yeah. So, when we got to the apartment, the first thing you see is where the door was damaged from the officers using the
Mhm.
battering ram. The first thing once I entered the apartment, the first thing I noticed was that there was a bullet in the ceiling, and Brianna lives in a first floor apartment.
Mm.
Not the bullet at that point, but the bullet hole that was going through the ceiling, and she was on the first floor. So that was a bullet had went into another apartment. Then so that was straight up. Then you see to the left of the door, bullets going through that wall into another apartment. Um, and then as you go down the hallway, so when you enter, it's just a straight hallway, like the apartment you lived in when you were 20 years old. So you
Uh-huh.
got the living room as soon as you walk in, the dining room right here, the kitchen right there,
Mhm.
the hallway, and a
I know
bathroom
exactly
on
what it
this
looks
side,
like.
and then the bedroom doors on this side. So the hallway ended straight ahead, and you could that and straight ahead, Brianna had just stepped out of her bedroom and was in the hallway when she was shot. And we know that because we see bullet holes in the wall, but also that's where you saw a pool of blood there.
Mm.
For Brianna, you saw bullet holes riddled in her sister's bedroom.
Mm.
One bullet barely missed the furnace in the apartment. Pots, pans, food shot up. Like bullets were just everywhere in this apartment. Her boyfriend Kenneth, he had only fired one shot. And I'm talking, I assume that most people know the premise of the story, but her boyfriend, so it goes, the officers were banging on the door. They're asking, who is it? Who is it? They're not announcing themselves. So
Damn.
it's 12:40 and 12:40 just after midnight. And so, since no one's saying anything, Kenneth grabs his gun, thinking someone like who is trying to get in this door this time of night. Um, as they approach the hallway, the door flies open. He fires a warning shot, thinking that it's burglars.
Mm.
Again, no one's announced themselves. In Kentucky, we have a right to protect our homes if we think that they're being burglarized. So he fires one shot. In response to his one shot, they fired nearly 30 rounds into the home, and they're coming from all directions, from the front of the home, from the door, went around to the front of the apartment, in through the windows. um, and as I said, they were going into other apartments, small children in other apartments. Typically Brianna's sister would have been home with her, and her bedroom was so shot up that had she been home, Tamika, Brianna's mom, would have lost both of her children
What?
that night. um, After the parade of bullets into the home, the officers go. And one officer was shot in the leg, and they say he was shot in his femoral artery in the apartment, but nowhere in the apartment
Their blood.
is there a significant amount. Is there any blood from anyone other than Brianna? So that's one thing that we're still like, it does make it make sense. Like, where's the if you were shot in your artery in the apartment, where is the blood? Um, and he was shot, so I'm not saying he wasn't shot. I just don't know that it was in the apartment, and I don't know that it was the shot that was fired by Kenneth, the boyfriend, because as I said, he
Gotcha.
only shot one time. Um, the officers go out. Kenneth at that point calls his mom first, because that's what we do. Mom, and she's like, hang up and call the police, because again, they don't know who's in. They still, after all
Oh
of the
my
bullets, they still
heavens.
don't know who is at the door. So he calls 911, and in the 911 call he says someone broke in my house and shot my girlfriend. Gives him the address. He's on this call for 3 minutes. And the important thing about when you listen to this phone call is you hear him talking to the operator, but you don't hear anything in the background. You don't hear officers coming in for help. You don't hear officers coming in to clear the scene. You don't hear sirens. Like, it's just complete silence in the background.
Mm.
Um, he hangs up with 911. He calls Brianna's mom and lets her know what happened. She gets dressed, rushes to the apartment. While he's on the phone with her mom, is the first time that he hears someone saying, "Police, come out." So he gets up, he goes to the door, and he had taken cover, inside the house. So he gets up, he walks to the door, and he yells out. He's like, "I'm on the phone." They tell him, "Drop your phone." So he, reaches out, drops the phone from where he's at because he doesn't want them to see anything in his hands. When he steps out, they tell him to turn around, walk backwards with his hands up. He's doing that, very compliant, very emotional, doing all of this as well. And I say the timing is when they got the dispatch saying that someone called 911 from inside the apartment. And I just say that from my experience, working as a prosecutor, listening to 911 calls, the dispatch and things like that, being that call was 3 minutes, and he then made the call to mom before they started calling for him to come out. So that's when they realized, oh shoot, someone's in there, they're alive, let's call for them to come out. When he gets out there, there's an officer that leans into him and asks him if he's been hit. And when he says no, the officer says, "That's unfortunate."
Mm.
Yeah.